Good morning, everybody. This is take 2 of Thursday devotionals. I was having some difficulties on my end as I was kind of going back through the video, so please forgive me. If you have already watched this, you might get a new nugget on the second time around, but if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. My name is Lindsey Funtik, and I am the coordinator of volunteer ministries at Ashland First United Methodist Church. And every Thursday, I hop on here to just share a little bit about what the Lord is teaching me, and to kind of divulge some devotional thoughts about daily life. So this time around, I'm going to share a little bit of a testimony for the ways in which I've seen God this week. So last week, probably beginning on Sunday, I started to have a headache and a sore throat and a little bit of a elevated temperature, not quite a fever, but inching up there. And normally those would be things that I would just sort of power through, just kind of chalk it up to being something seasonal. But after I took my temperature, I talked to my husband and we contacted the health liaison that we have through his work. And ultimately, it was decided that I should immediately isolate from John and that I should go and get tested for COVID-19. So we set about the task of tiptoeing around each other as much as possible in a house that we share. And I drove and did a curbside swab at our doctor's office, and the swabs are not comfortable. It feels like they touch your brain, but they get the specimens, so that's good. So I'm happy to report that, 5 days later, the results came back and all is well, and I do not have the coronavirus, and I am very grateful for that. But I also had those 5 days to kind of consider all of the different possibilities of what could happen. First, there was obviously some worries. I began to worrying about my own health. I worried about my husband's health. I worried that I might have inadvertently exposed someone on the few times that I have ventured out. So kind of definitely a chain reaction of anxiety. I also have to admit to a little bit of bitterness, especially in the beginning, because I've done everything by the book. I've followed the rules. I've stayed home, hand sanitizer, hand washing. I wear a mask every time I go out in public around people so as to protect others. So all of those things combined, I was like, how in the world could I have gotten it? But this thing is tenacious, so sometimes despite our best efforts, we get sick. But having kind of worked through all of that, I began to have a peace that I know was of the Lord, was not of my own making. And I had there's a quote from Julian of Norwich, who is an ancient mystic, that was kind of bouncing around in my head. And she says, all shall be well, all shall be well, all manner of things shall be well. And I love that quote. And I also know that that doesn't come from a shallow hope in the world, but it comes from standing on the absolute truth that the Lord is faithful and the Lord is good and the Lord is already victorious. Because of Jesus's victory on the cross over death, wholeness and complete healing is on its way. And we get glimpses of that here and now. And so all manner of things shall be well, no matter what we're facing. So I think it has definitely just caused me to pause and consider the fact that none of us are immune to the world and none of us get out of it unscathed. I'm very grateful for the fact that my results came back negative, but I also know that there are thousands of people who are good people who follow Jesus closely, who have not had the same narrative that I am currently living. And that's heartbreaking, and it really causes us to ask why. There's the age-old question of why bad things happen to good people. And as it stands, we are still living in a fallen world, and sickness and death still exist. But the kingdom is coming in its fully consummated form. It's on its way because of Jesus's victory, and we can cling to that. If the results were negative, great, awesome, I'm celebrating that. But if the results were positive, I like to think that I would also be able to say the Lord is good and the Lord is faithful. And I have had this song, it's called Desert Song by Hillsong, stuck in my head, and it's just sort of talking about the fact that whether it's in harvest, whether it's in the desert, or anywhere in between, the Lord is faithful and the Lord is good. And we can cling to Him as the only true source of true goodness in the world. All good and perfect things come from Him. So the bridge of this song has really stuck with me, especially these past few days, where it says, all of my life, in every season, you are still God. I have a reason to sing. I have a reason to worship. And so as I let my mind travel down the road of what ifs, I know that I still have a reason to sing. I still have a reason to worship. Whether I would have had to face this sickness, all shall be well. And God is still good. We have a reason to sing. We have a reason to worship. And we can trust that that goodness endures and sticks with us, mountaintops or valleys. Again, anything in between. So negative or positive, we have that reason. And so I think it's important also to know that the Holy Spirit is the one who empowers us to choose, and gives us the faith to know that we can call upon the light to dispel darkness. And so whatever you're facing today, good, bad, ugly, I know last week was really scary for me, but then I got the results the day before our second wedding anniversary, and I was able to hold hands with my husband on the day that we celebrated our marriage. And that was a gift. And so I'm living a good narrative, but a lot of us are living really difficult narratives. But just, I pray over you the knowledge that the Lord is still good and the Lord is faithful, and we always have a reason to sing. And really, the only guarantee that we have in this life is God, is the fact that He is good and bringing everything toward full redemption. Hope in anything else is empty. So I pray over all of us that as we're seeing, hopefully, the slow end of this pandemic, as we are in just daily life, moving through the sludge of the world toward the fullness of God's kingdom to come. I just pray knowledge of His faithfulness and knowledge of His goodness and knowledge of His companionship. He has good for us, and we can trust that. So, First United Methodist Church, I love you, and I think of you, and I pray for you always. I pray this knowledge, no matter what you're facing, the Lord is for us, friends. So I look forward to the day that I will see you, hopefully sooner rather than later. We're looking forward to that and planning for that. But in the meantime, I hope that you have an amazing Thursday.